Welkom terug. Ek gesels nou verder met die DA se nuwe interim leier, John Steenhuisen. John, you've said that redress is important for the DA. What do you mean by that, and how will you make this central to the DA's policy planks going forward?
Sure. So governments have two types of policies that they can use to affect change in a country. Opportunity policies, and that's all governments do them. It's education, healthcare, job creation, etc. Given the special circumstances that South Africa has, where you've had many decades of legislated and determined race-based policies that have marginalised mainly black South Africans into an outsider economy, redress has to concern with making a wrong a right. So we have to have redress policies to be able to move the country forward. Where the ANC's brand of redress is BE and AA, and that has failed completely. We've got 10 million people unemployed now. There were 3.7 in 94. Black households are 10% poorer now than they were at the beginning. There are more poor people now, and inequality is widening. Those policies haven't worked. So we're saying, let's argue, when we do redress, let's target it where it's needed most, and that is using poverty as a measure, not race, because then you target the people who need it the most.
Right, but the affirmative action legislation is premised on race and not means. What would the DA's position be on affirmative action? You've mentioned it now, but should it be abolished?
No, I think that there should be incentives, and I think that certainly the private sector should be incentivized to bring diversity into the workplace. But I don't think that the punitive mechanisms that they're using now are either lifting people into positions, nor are they advancing the economy. You've seen already at what's happened at Eskom when people have been put into places on the basis of their race rather than the ability to do the job. Merit has to count when you're making appointments like that. But I think that there has to be some efforts to incentivize the private sector and private companies to conduct diversity. And it's in everyone's interest to do that.
Okay, so how important do you think are these policies to prospective and existing DA voters? Because there is a population of DA voters who, in conversations the last few weeks, have said that they've been voting DA not because of your values or your policies, but because they thought the DA had a chance of unseating the ANC on national level. Mm-hmm. Was that ever possible? And did you pursue that with too much vigour so that you lost focus of just being a good opposition party?
Yeah. Look, I think that a lot of the polling showed us that there was a possibility, but I think that the election of Ramaphosa was a game changer, and it sort of changed the landscape quite dramatically.
But the DA missed that opportunity, didn't it?
Well, I think that we misjudged the mood of the country when Ramaphosa was initially elected. I think people were just so relieved to see the back of Zuma that they would hang on to any piece of wreckage after the Zuma presidency and embrace it. And I think that the DA coming out of the block straight away, hammering Ramaphosa, saying he's same bus, different driver, I think misjudged the mood of the nation. We should rather have waited 6 months where the Ramaphoria started to wear off. And as we've seen it doing, and that would have been the time to strike.
Okay, so it has worn off. But John, how do you explain that with the economy in the doldrums as it is now, and with fear about Eskom and SAA falling apart, that voters are still willing to give the ANC their vote?
Because they don't have a clear, unambiguous alternative that's standing up saying, hey, we're here, you give us a chance. We've been trying to be everything to everybody in the political spectrum, end up being nothing to anybody. And it's because, I said, we've been this big blue wobbly jelly that's never really stood for anything, and people look at us, they don't know what we're for, what we're about, and have chosen parties that they feel a bit more assured about what they're fighting for. So we've got to be far more unambiguous about what we are.
The most unambiguous party is the EFF, with whom you've had a governing pact in Johannesburg since 2016. Was it a mistake to go into government with the EFF in Joburg?
No, I don't think it was a mistake, and I think it was important for a number of reasons. First of all, to wrest control of the metros, show voters that their vote can bring change in a municipality, and also to take it out of the hands of the ANC. We've seen what's happening in places like Nelson Mandela Bay and other municipalities where the ANC is in control. People pushed into poverty, water crises, electricity outages, all these things, people living in misery. If you look at Tshwane and Johannesburg, it's not perfect, but certainly a lot better than it was under ANC control.
Right, but the DA's review panel was very critical of the decision to enter into government with the EFF. Now Herman Mashaba is ending his term next week. Are you willing, how much are you willing to do given that your voters are kind of skeptical of this arrangement, how much are you willing to do to save this coalition agreement, not formal coalition, but to save the EFF-DA pact in Joburg?
Well, it would be a shame to throw the residents of Joburg and Tshwane to the wolves of the ANC. And so we will do what we need to do, but not in a way that will compromise our values and principles. Good, clean, accountable government, using cities as engine rooms to create growth and employment, and ensuring and building the capable state in those cities. Those are the priorities. If there's going to be anything that contradicts that, we don't want to be part of it. So that was the original foundational agreements around with the EFF to achieve. And if those change, then we have to obviously reconsider whether we carry on. But because you can't compromise your principles while you're in government.
Very briefly, in conclusion, do you think that the DA is measured by a different standard than other parties are in the media and among commentators?
Of course we are, but I welcome it, because I think if we are wanting to set ourselves out as the alternative and as the progressive party of the future, I'm happy to be held to that higher standard, and we're going to meet it. We're going to take this party to even greater heights than it is at the moment.
Thanks for being here, John.
Thank you.